Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Spider-Man on PS4. It's time for some side quests.
Excellent.
Well, you have 59 seconds, so go.
Great. If only Optimum had superheroes to handle their network issues for them.
I like how she's like, listen, I know you're doing this shit. Just help me out with it.
Look at me in the eyes and say you need help. You can't do it, can you?
What the? What?
Oh, you got your secret reconnaissance pigeon.
That bird just sort of plopped down in the most
That bird's up to something.
unnatural way.
This looks like a job for man.
Man does whatever a man can. I love that video.
I did so.
So, at any point, are you going to look through like one of the office windows? Because one of the more amusing quirks of this game's graphics engine is the way it handles the rooms that you can see through windows sometimes.
Well, it's a lot of copy and paste, isn't it? They kind of have to, given the size.
I mean, you can't render every single office building in New York. That's just not.
Yeah, but it's also just like the way it looks if you actually.
Away with you.
If you
Oh
actually.
my god, you're gonna murder that person.
If you actually stop to look through a window, the way it looks is something else.
Oh my, Jesus Christ.
They'll be fine.
They actually have an in-game explanation. If you watch someone fly off a building, somehow Peter tagged them all, so they have like a zip line that smacks them into the building with webbing.
If you have a good ear, you can actually hear it when it happens.
Okay,
Yeah.
So this isn't like Arkham where you can just kick people off of
No,
a
this is
cliff
not Spider-Man.
and
Hey, it's non-lethal, Ted.
It's non-lethal. Okay, the
Driving
non-lethal
300
bat
miles into people with
grenades,
the Batmobile is perfectly fine.
non-lethal bat AK-47, non-lethal bat
It shoots rubber bullets.
katana.
It's fine. Rubber tipped.
Rubber tipped. Okay, so the
Yeah.
rest of it isn't just the tip. Okay.
Yeah, just the tip.
I can't get over the fact that like they let you run up buildings and they just ignore the fact that half the building is glass. Hey there, buddy.
Well, it's not really glass anymore.
Well,
But
Spider-Man's tough, but he's delicate.
You see,
I like how like Spider-Man routinely hangs criminals off the sides of skyscrapers, but just leaves it to the police to capture them before the 3-hour time limit on the web goes
yeah, because like, how are they gonna get them down? Like, wouldn't they need like a crane or a helicopter or something?
That's the thing about the web is that it dissolves after like 3 hours or so, right? So
Unless if it's hanging up a backpack, in which case it lasts for like 5 years.
so
Yeah, that's different web.
what do the police in the city have? Like some kind of special Spider-Man response unit that's all about rescuing people from the tops of skyscrapers?
I mean, probably. Away
Like,
with
also, like, if you're a thug that got strung up by Spider-Man, right, and the cops find you, they don't know what crime you committed. So can they even charge you for anything? They're just guilty of Spider-Man beating you up and hanging you on the walls, you know? Like, that's not evidence of anything.
Like in the comics, Spider-Man would cover that by like having pictures taken with his camera and all, but yeah, you're right. In this situation, like, there's no reason for them to be arrested. Well, other
That's
than the
another-
fact that they were up on top of that building that they shouldn't have been on in the first place. I
That's
suppose.
actually
on top
one
of
of
a
my
building
fav-
with illegal tech about that was jamming police comms. So
Yeah.
Well, in this
that's
case,
actually
yeah.
there's enough evidence strewn about to where they could probably make a case. But
there's a line in the Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon, which you should watch, by the way. It's very, very good.
it's never coming back.
It is never coming back, which is a shame because it ends with a cliffhanger of Norman Osborn wearing a Hawaiian shirt in an airport.
And then what?
I'm not
Ixnagis
kidding. He's
opens
like
his eyes behind him.
he's in an airport.
Somebody stop him!
They talk about how he's dead, but he's actually like he's wearing a Hawaiian shirt and sunglasses in an airport, and he lifts the sunglasses up and you see his face. But anyway,
That sounds like how BBC's Sherlock should have ended, with Moriarty in a Hawaiian shirt just hanging out at an airport. And then they
but-
never follow up on it, despite 3 seasons of teasing that Moriarty would be back.
But anyway, they just
Okay.
make a comment about how Spider-Man isn't actually helping because he hangs up these criminals in webs with no evidence. and then they just go free because there was no actual evidence of the crime. It's just, oh, this guy got beat up by Spider-Man, so we think he actually did it, you know? Like
Jameson is right. He's been right all this time. We just didn't see it, man.
What's the senator in the X-Men comics? Senator Kelly? Something like that? Yeah, he's all...
I think it was Kelly.
Yeah. Like, I mean, all these mutants are causing all these problems, you know. I'm not racist or anything. I'm just saying.
It's one of those things where as the more time goes on, it's hard to it's hard to disagree with Magneto.
Yeah, it's like... I'm not racist or anything. I wouldn't want my family dating a mutant. Like, what if they just accidentally lit them on fire? You know, it's not that they're a mutant or anything. It's just that those powers are dangerous. You know,
well,
like, you don't know where they've been.
On the one hand, that does sound skeevy. On the other hand, according to the rules of the universe that this is all set in, Rogue exists. So,
yeah,
it's true.
Listen, I'm not saying that we should take all of the mutants and lock them up in a prison, but I'm just saying I wouldn't mind it if that happened.
If you remembered the 90s Spider-Man cartoon, the three things you remembered were Venom, Carnage, and Wilson Fisk. If you remember the 90s X-Men cartoon, the three things you remembered were Jubilee, and Sentinels.
Also Wolverine laying back on the bed holding a picture frame longingly.
It is always Rogue first, then Jubilee.
Well, I mean...
Also,
and then Sentinels.
Also Gambit's terrible.
I mean, at one point in time, I would have said Rogue, but then the X-Men movies came out, and they basically just did the same Rogue better, so now I think everyone who thinks of Rogue thinks of that movie.
I disagree.
Well, I mean, she lacked the bullshit Captain Marvel powers, but that was about it.
I just liked everything about X-Men animated series Rogue.
Well, that's why I said they did it better, but she's like, all I remember...
Into the drink with you.
All I remember about animated series Rogue was that fake as hell accent. And the fact that she debuted alongside Gambit. You know what? The third thing is Gambit. You'll remember Gambit. Gambit was okay.
I also remember the Banshee scream when he's saving Xavier from the cliff.
I don't remember that.
I mean, both the Spider-Man 90s cartoon and the X-Men cartoon are a bit before my time.
Yeah.
Did they cross over at all?
Yeah.
Several times. And Iron Man had a cameo once.
Oh, I know that there was an Iron Man cartoon around the same time.
That show was terrible.
That was very, very bad. Didn't it have some CG stuff in it too? There was
CG in the Spider-Man show too.
They were sort of trying to have a similar dynamic to the DC animated universe. Kind of funny because in the animated universes, DC and Marvel had their positions reversed, but it didn't work out quite so well.
Well, I mean, I'd say at the time DC was just. If we're talking about the 90s and the early 2000s, DC was just ahead of Marvel in pretty much every way. Like, nobody was really happy with any of the comics at the time, but they were less happy about Marvel than they were DC. The DC animated universe is considered one of the best things the company's ever done, whereas the Marvel movie cartoons from the 90s range from, okay to,
what is this?
Okay, that is how I would describe it. The X-Men and Spider-Man cartoons were aggressively okay. They didn't quite have the impact that the Batman animated series did. They
weren't nearly as well animated either.
Yeah,
as, the Superman, Batman, or the Justice League stuff.
I mean,
it's very clearly not as flashy.
Not all of the DC stuff was amazing. The Superman animated series was kind of just good. It fluctuated between being charming and unremarkable. But even then, it was kind of above the level of quality that the Spider-Man and X-Men cartoons did. They were very stiff. They had this sort of one step above Hanna-Barbera feeling to them.
And I mean, Marvel got a shot on the arm with the early 2000s movies with Blade, Spider-Man, and the X-Men movies, but that didn't really transition to anything else until the MCU. started to kick off, and even then, not until Avengers 1.
I like this fucking plastic toy-ass looking gadget that you're able to just craft on the spot with your phone.
In your local toy store that your kid can play with now for $39.99.
Wow.
That's as much as a graphing calculator. No, thank you.
Let's see.
Whoa, hold the phone. What graphing calculator are you getting for $39.99?
Awesome.
This is a regular graphing calculator.
No, dude, you don't understand. That's like actually like criminally cheap. The TI police are gonna come after you, and
You know what? We're
Break your
gonna look up
kneecaps.
prices right now. For
All
they're
right, here's
over $100, John.
Here's another major problem I kind of have with the game. Stealth is entirely optional.
Yeah.
They give you these stealth sections, but you don't have to do it. You can just poke a guy and just get into a fight.
I mean, I can see that as being both a good thing and a bad thing. Like, if you don't like stealth, you can choose to ignore it, but just have a harder encounter. I think that's personally
It's not
fine.
really harder, though. It's just guys. Because here's the thing. It says 1 of 6 waves. Once you get past the first wave, which you can stealth, just a bunch of guys come out and say, let's get him, guys, and then you just get into a fight. So it's entirely optional, and it doesn't really matter. In fact, it's unless you're going for, like, platinum trophy and, like, the achievement stuff on stealth encounters, you're better off just starting the fight.
It's no Arkham Asylum, I'll say that. Some of the stuff that they let you do with stealth is pretty neat, but it's also like not very refined.
I never really associated Spider-Man as stealthy. Not nearly as much as Batman, for sure.
Well, I mean, he's a spider.
He can crawl up walls and ceilings and stuff. He should be stealthy, but it's kind of like no
Yeah, but
game
look
is
at
Stealth
that
should at least be
outfit,
an
though.
option.
I mean, they handle it here better than they do in the Amazing Spider-Man game, I'll say that. Amazing Spider-Man just kind of, if I remember correctly, like, you could technically do it, but it wasn't really like, there weren't really any dedicated mechanics attached to it, I think. It's been too long. Oof. Those games were interesting. Like, they were trying to have video game tie-ins to the movies, right? So they were kind of in-betweener episodes.
That was like 2012 or so when those came out, right? 2013?
around there,
Yeah.
That was like the tail end of the traditional
Everything
licensed
is a tie-in game.
movie tie-in kind of stuff. You just don't really see that anymore. Not that
Yeah.
licensed games don't exist, like we're playing one right now, but
Particularly tie-in games.
yeah, you're not going to see...
Games are too expensive, they take too long to make, and if you want anything even remotely decent, you're not going to make it out in time for the movie.
Yeah, you're
after
not
that-
going to get like Smurfs 3, the video game, really. Anymore,
After
you
that,
know?
the Spider-Man games became more, like, self-contained. Oh, that was nice.
Yeah, the
Like-
other thing is just the primary consumers for video games are teens and adults, and if you are buying it for a kid, the parents of the kids were kids when the bad movie games were coming out, so they know better to do that.
Yeah, like, no like, if you're a dad, right, and you're buying a game for your kids, you know better than to... Oh, that's a cool effect, actually, with the... I've never
sounds
seen
great.
them try do a flash grenade like that, but that's actually really, really cool.
Yeah, it's like if your dad or mom are going to get a video game for you nowadays for, like, 6-year-old Timmy or something, they know not to buy, crappy licensed cartoon game on their favorite show that was clearly shut out in 6 months.
I think it's still very wildly depends on the parent, but
What was
Gen-
the weirdest bad licensed game you guys ever got? For me, it was I got a Chronicles
or
of
played
Narnia game on GameCube.
yeah, got or played. I think it was probably it.
Oh, the Chronicles of Narnia game. I've heard bad things. Was it
It's
as
like
terrible
a
as-
bad Diablo game. It's
Yes,
not
so,
good.
Okay, so specifically,
Spider-Man not here.
we got
Yeah,
that,
that you actually got, you know.
I'm gonna have to think about that. I have to mentally go through my whole library from when I was a kid.
Oh wait, no, the worst one definitely. The Narnia one was bad, but it wasn't like egregious. The worst one, and this is by a long shot, Rugrats in Paris for the N64. That game.
Oh, I had that for the PS1.
Oh god, that game is the absolute worst. It's like you walk around this amusement park and you go slow as molasses because you're a baby, and there's a bunch of mini games and all of them are bad. And you can't even save without the N64's memory card thing, which is weird because you're on the N64, so you shouldn't need that.
They didn't even put a memory chip into the cartridge?
No, they didn't. A good contender for second worst would probably be SpongeBob Revenge of the Flying Dutchman, but that one's gotten more attention, so I don't need to explain why that one's bad.
Man, how are you still alive?
You can heal yourself with your focus gauge.
Ah.
I mean, Spider-Man does take a lot of punishment in the comics and movies as well, despite not really having... I mean, I assume he's got higher stamina than most, but, like, I'd assume his bones would break just as easily as most other normal people, you know? I never really associate Spider-Man with being super durable. He just kind of can get
durability is one of those auxiliary powers that just kind of comes with like super strength and speed and stuff.
I mean, I suppose.
I mean, it makes sense if you have super strength, your body is going to be tougher than most too.
Yeah, but like I associate like people like Thor with being able to get hit a lot, you know, or like Iron Man because he's literally wearing armor. Not so much like the kid wearing footy pajamas, you know.
Yeah, it's just a logical connection. If you've got super strength, your body has to be durable enough to not break itself when it uses it.
Hi, Deku.
Oh, sure, punch the shield. That.
Oh, you're talking
shouldn't
about
have
My
worked.
Hero Academia.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Whenever anybody says that, I'm like, what does Zelda have to do with it?
Oh, everyone makes that joke. My favorite image is the Great Deku Tree, where it's just his face on top of the Great Deku Tree from Ocarina of Time.
Actually, web down.
Here's our challenge maps for the game. They're just scattered across the city.
And someone finally reported shots fired. Oh, great.
Oh, but you can
6 hours
redo
ago.
that combat thing if you want to get all the achievements and stuff.
Yeah. These are your challenge rooms from Arkham games. They're just placed about the city instead of just being a menu.
Ah.